This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Andariki namaskaramulu. Today is another good day for us. Today is the 14th session of our course on Sanatana Dharma. And today is 13th of February 2023. So far, we have finished very important topics like Vedas, Vedangas, Dharma Shastras, Upanishads. And now we are on Darshanas. And in Darshanas also we have seen 4 Darshanas and remaining 2 we'll see today. Next, going forward, we will have Shastra and Bhagavad Gita. Then after that, we will see some Samaskaram, Shodasha Samaskaram, Vedic mathematics, Ramayanam, Mahabharatam, and Puranas, Vastu Shastra, Panchangam, etc. A lot of subjects are going to come. Now we will start with Vande Mataram by Tangira Krishnamurti Garu, and then Prarthana by Satyaji. Okay, let us start with Vande Mataram. Let's start stand up and recite Vande Mataram along with Tangira Krishnamurti Garu.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Subhalam, Malayajasitalam, Sashashamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Subrajochna Pulakitayamini, Pullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini, Suhasini, Sumadhura Bhashini, Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram. Dhanyavadamulanడి Krishnamurti garu. Dhanyavadamuలు.
Dhanyavadamuలు.
Now let us request Satyaji to chant Prarthana.
Let's do meditation for 1 minute. Let's close our eyes. Let's sit straight and focus on the class for the next hour and a half. Gananam tva ganapati gum havamahe kavim kavina upamasravastamam jeshtarajam brahmanam brahmanaspata anasrunvannotibhis sida sadanam. Om Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhir Vajinivati Dhinam Avitrayavatu. Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha. Gurureva gati gurumeva bhaje gurunaiva sahasmi namo gurave na guru paramam shashirasmi guroho matirasti gurau mama pahi guru Jnananandamayam devam nirmalaspatikakrutim adharam sarva vidyanam hayagrivam Shruti smritim purananam alayam karunalayam namami bhagavat pada Shankaram lokashankaram Shankaram shankaracharyam Keshavam badarayanam Sutra bhashya kruto vande Bhagavantau punah punah Ishvaro gururatmeti Murti bheda vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaya Dakshinamurtaye namaha Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityorma amrutam gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Matrudevo Bhava Pitrudevo Bhava Acharya Devo Bhava Atithi Devo Bhava Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Guru Bhyom Namaha Harihi Om
ధన్యవాదములండి సత్య గారు. Now let us request Prabhu Garu to start the webinar, please.
नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदायकर्तृभ्यो वंशऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहितप्रज्ञानघन प्रत्यगर्भो सोऽहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि. Friends, today we'll be discussing the last two of the 6 Astika Darshanas, Mimamsa and Vedanta, or Puramimamsa and Uttaramimamsa, both mean the same. Mimamsa means analysis, and Puramimamsa refers to the karma Mimamsa, and Uttaramimamsa refers to the Jnana Mimamsa. That is Vedanta. It is also known as Vedanta because it's the last part of it. Is based on the Upanishads, which are the 4th or last part of the Veda. As you know, the Veda comprises of Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. So the 4th or last is Upanishad. So that is why it is known as Vedanta. And the Uttaramimamsa is primarily based on the Upanishads. Therefore, it is called Vedanta Darshana. The Puramimamsa is pertaining to the Karmakanda. What I want you to realize is that the Veda, as I told you right in the beginning, has 2 parts, the Karmakanda and the Jnanakanda. So, most of the Veda is explaining the Karmakanda or partly Jnanakanda as in the Upanishads. Of course, Upanishads are also derived from the Samhita only, but of a later period in a slightly different language, but the basic thoughts or deep ideas are taken out from the Veda Samhita itself, the primary mantras. So now we will spend very little time on Mimamsa Darshana because already one lecture was given on the Pramana Mimamsa last week by our Swaminiji. So I will spend a very brief period of time on Mimamsa and spend most of the time on Vedanta Darshana or Uttara Mimamsa. So the Mimamsa Darshana or Purva Mimamsa, as it is more accurately described, is summarizing the Karmakanda perspective of the Vedas. As I told you, each Darshana is a perspective. We have seen the Sankhya perspective, the Yoga perspective, which is a psychological perspective, and we have seen the logical perspective of Nyaya, and we have seen the physics perspective of Vaiseshika. Today we will see the Karmakanda perspective very limited way for various reasons. And the Jaimini Maharshi, just like we have the Kapila Muni for the Sankhya Darshana as the Sutrakara, and we have the Patanjali Maharshi as the Sutrakara for the Yoga Darshana, and we have the Gautama Maharshi as the Sutrakara of the Nyaya Darshana, and we have the Kanad Maharshi as the Sutrakara of the Vaiseshika Darshana. We have Jaimini Maharshi, who is the immediate disciple of Vedavyasa himself. He is the Sutrakara of the Mimamsa, Karma Mimamsa or Purva Mimamsa Darshana. And then we have the Badarayana, who is also known as Vyasa, as the Sutrakara of the Vedanta Darshana of the Brahma Sutras. So now the Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa Sutras, they define dharma in their own way, because each one of these darshanas, they are aiming at moksha, and they start with the definition of dharma itself. So when Jaimini starts his Purva Mimamsa Darshana, he says, Chodana Lakshano Dharmaha. What is dharma according to him? That which is the driving force. Chodana Lakshano Dharmaha. Like we have the Gayatri Mantra, Diyo Yona Prachodayat, the power which drives. So in the same word, Chodana is even used. So dharma is the driving force. It has got a characteristic of Lakshana of being a driving force. That means dharma is the prime substratum on which all activities happen. So now the word dharma itself comes from the root dhru, which is to hold or sustain. So the substratum which sustains and becomes the driving force also automatically. That is how we have the Chodana Lakshana Dharmaha definition. And then he explains the process or procedures of analyzing the text content in the Veda. Basically, it is interpreting the Veda. As I told you, all the 6 darshanas interpret the Veda in different subject perspectives. So here, the Veda is interpreted in the karma perspective, the karma mimamsa, that's why it is called. And Mandana Mishra was the greatest champion of the karma siddhanta, karma mimamsa, that is karma brahma. Karma itself is brahma. Through karma only you get everything. So, and in the arguments with Adi Shankaracharya in front of Ubhay Bharati, he was defeated and he accepted the supremacy of jnana over karma. And therefore he became the disciple of Adi Shankaracharya. And he later became the head of the first Shankaracharya, head of the Sringeri Shankarmat, and his name is Suresh Ravacharya. So now the karma siddhanta is definitely true in the sense whatever you sow, you reap. You cannot get a fruit of a tree which is not planted in advance. The tree gets planted many years before the fruit comes. So whatever you sow, you reap. That is the karma siddhanta. So therefore, we have to perform karma because nobody can stay without performing karma. Without performing karma, even for 1 second, we cannot stay. So whatever karma we perform, we have to reap its benefits or effects, good or bad, accordingly, when the time comes, the day of reckoning, they call it sometimes. And so, therefore, it is very essential that perform only good karma. Basically, what is good karma means you have to follow dharma. In fact, as Shankaracharya told, Vedo nityam adhiyatam, taduditam karma swanushthiyatam. You implement, you practice the Veda prachodita karma. So Veda prachodita karma is yajna, yaga and anusthana and so on and so forth, punya karma. So in the yajnas, we have 11 Havir yagas, starting with Agnihotram, which we do every day. Vaiswadeyam are also done every day. And to Somayagam, and to Paundarikam, and finally Chayanam. 40 days Chayanam. Somayagam is 10 days. So all the Agnihotris, in fact, we have our original ancestors, all of our ancestors were performing yajnas. And due to the westernization intervention, we have given up the Veda and yajna, and we are performing all other activities, Lokika activities only, not of Vaidika activities. Though by name we may be called Vaidikas by birth. And among the Vaidikas who were appointed into the jobs were called Niyogis or Niyogita, appointed. But all Brahmins were originally Vaidikas only. So that means they perform the Veda Prachodita karma. And the karma is of 3 types: Srauta karma, Smarta karma, and Pauranika karma. Srauta karma is the karma given in the Shruti, that is the Veda itself. The Yajurveda in particular focuses on the various karmakanda procedures. Ishete Jyotvad, it first starts with even the survey of the land and soil, and then making bricks, and then making the Yajna Kundam and so on and so forth, and performing the Yajna. So what is the secret behind Yajna? Because the entire Vedic culture was promoting the Yajna karma. So the importance of Yajna has been given in many texts. Like Bhagavad Gita says, Yajnat bhavati parjanyaha, parjanyad anna sambhavaha. So the rain-bearing clouds can be stimulated or created to be stimulated, stimulated to be created in the atmosphere by the practice of Yajna. As you will see in some of our speakers in the next few sessions, they have performed many experiments on the Agnihotra process and how the environment benefits the trees, the animals, the humans, soil, how it becomes enriched by the Yajna process performance. So the entire Brahmin class, Brahma Kula, was created to protect and propagate the Vedas and perform yajnas. And unfortunately, it has been given up. It's not 100%, but 90%, or 98%, or 95%. So those few Brahmana scholars who are adhering to the Vedika Vidya Vidhanam, Vedadhyanam, and Karmakanda, we pay our deep respects to them, because we are also supposed to do it, but we are not doing. So it, in fact, some of the yajnas are not only limited to Brahmanas, but they can be performed by all people. Nityagnihodram, now the Agnihotra technique, which is going to be demonstrated and explained to you after a few days, is being performed globally by one and all at home to get purification of the air and also overcome the various diseases, both physical and psychological. Even I perform. So the Agnihotra process is also the first step of Karmakanda. And then we have the other advanced Karmakandas, which ordinary Vastas cannot perform, but only the Pandits who are trained, Vedic scholars who are trained in the Gurukulas, the what are called the Adharyus. In every yajna, there are 4 actors. One is the Adharyu, who organizes. Adharyam means management organization, who is trained on the performance of the yajna process very thoroughly, and he belongs to the Ayurveda class. And the Hota, the person who performs the Havanam, he is from the Veda class. And Udgata, a person who sings loudly the musical Samaveda in the yajna, is known as Udgata. He is from Samaveda. And Brahma of the yajna is from Atharva. So these 4 persons are the compulsory persons in any yajna. Of course, the Yajamani will be there. And even to become a Yajamani, you require certain pre-qualifications, which most of us don't have. Some of us have, maybe. So I'm talking of big yajnas. Vajapayam, a person who performed Vajapayam is known as Vajapayi. And Ashwamedham, it is similar to our monarchs, Ashwamedham. And then Vishwajit Yagam, and then we have so many other big yagas performed by the emperors who established their supremacy, rule of law, Prabhutvam on the entire dominion, where that horse goes around. And you heard of these stories. So it is the kings and emperors who perform some of the yajnas, and the Ritviks or the Brahmana rishis who help them in performing by organizing and executing. And all Brahmanas were supposed to be knowing all that. So this entire Karma Kanda, its benefits, its results in this world are the environmental balance. And after death, whosoever performs any yajnam is assured to go to heaven after death. So now we can understand what will happen if you perform yajna and if you don't perform yajna. So the entire Karma Mimamsa, Karma Kanda is based upon the yajna procedures, very detailed procedures, very intricate and long, and also costing lots of money. Somebody is right now performing one Poundarikam somewhere the outskirts of Siddipet or somewhere right now. And it costs around 80 lakhs to 90 lakhs. That's what I was told yesterday. And in Pragati Resorts, where I'm deeply involved in conducting yoga classes, giving lectures, there is a big Goshala, and next to Goshala there is a Yajnavatika, where Vajapayi is posted. He lives there. He has his house there. And I met him yesterday there. And he told me about this Poundarikam. And he is involved in performance of many yajnas. When Somayaga was performed in the Pragati Resorts a few years ago. And even the Akkalkot Samsthan, they performed Somayagam recently at Latu, where Dr. Ravi Prakash Arya visited and gave a press conference also. Latu is in Maharashtra. And they have performed the Akkalkot Institute, who are the champions of the Agnihotra process, Swami Gajanand Maharaj, who lived up to 60s. He actually had darshan of Parashurama himself, who appeared there, because that area, Kalkot, near Sholapur, is the dominion of Kartavirya Arjuna and Parashurama. Parashurama appeared to him and took him in the sky to Varanasi. So those who saw Parashurama at that time, that is, we are talking of 60s, early 60s or late 50s, they have drawn a diagram of what they saw as Parashurama. Parashurama is one of the Chiranjeevis who is alive today also. Ashwadhama, Bali, Vyasa, Hanumanta, Vibhishana, Krupa, and Krupa Parashuramas. So now the This Yajna Karma Kanda is the major stake in the entire Vedic lore. In this course, we are not able to teach anything except Agnihotra, one single simple technique to be practiced at home. We will teach that. And I will now stop the discussion about Karmakanda and Purvamimamsa. Then I will go into the Uttaramimamsa for the rest of this today's lecture, which is Vedanta Darshana. Now the Vedanta Darshana is, or Uttaramimamsa Darshana is based on the three major foundations of textual foundations. One is the one foundation is the Upanishads, the 108 Upanishads, of which the Vedanta Upanishads will be around 50 or 60. The rest are Yoga Upanishads and Shaiva Upanishads and Vaishnava Upanishads and Shaktya Upanishads and so on. So this Vedanta Upanishads, Samanya Vedanta Upanishad and Vishesha Vedanta Upanishads, both put together, around 40 to 50 will be there. Last time we have discussed about Upanishads. Second foundation on which Vedanta Darshana is based is the Brahma Sutras. The Brahma Sutras are the summarizations, very cryptic, very efficient, brief summarization of the content of the Upanishads, the thought plus the content, the jnana. As we have discussed, the Veda can be divided into Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. So the Jnana Kanda is presented in the Upanishads, which is summarized in the Brahma Sutras in a very systematic and scholarly manner. Like the first sutra, Brahma Sutra Adhato Brahma Jigyasa, we will try to understand Brahman, the Brahma Jnanam. The word Brahmana comes from the definition as Brahmam Janati iti Brahmana. Brahmana is a person who knows Brahman, Brahma Jnana, he has Brahma Jnana. So to define Brahma and therefore the Brahma Jnanam, the entire Brahma Sutras have been developed by Badarayana. He's called Badarayana because he was living in Badarikashram, in Himalayas. So he defines first as Janmadhyasya yataha. Brahman is defined as that which, from which the creation, sustenance and dissolution of the universe happens. So the Janmadhyasya yataha, Janma means the birth or creation of the universe, and next is sustenance, and next is dissolution. Yato vaimani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yasmin pravishanti tat brahma. This definition we have seen in the Taittiriya Upanishad, that from which all the beings in the universe get created, that by which the entire universe gets sustained, and that into which the entire universe gets dissolved after death or decay. Evaniche janinchu jagam, evani lopalanundu leenamai, evaniyandu dindu, parameswarudevvadu, moola karanam vevvadanadi madhyalayudevvadu, sarvamudanayena vadevvadu, vaninatmajinune sharanam buvedadam. Evaniche janinchu jagam, evani lopalanundu, sustenance, evaniyandu dindu, dissolution. Parameswarudevvadu, moola karanam vevvadu, the cause of all causes. Anadi madhyalayudevvadu, without beginning or end, middle. Sarvamudanayena vadevvadu, vaninatmajinine sharanam. So this definition given in Bhagavatam by Potana is the definition of Brahman. It is Sarvamata Prardhana. Of course, the non-Hindu theistic religions like Islam, Christianity and Judaism, they have commonality with this definition to some extent, not fully, because they gave all kinds of deviations, modifications to the original thought process and created a big mess in their own theory. They agree about creation, but they don't talk about sustenance and dissolution. That is another funny thing. Of course, when you talk to some of their scholars, very top scholars or very intensive scholars who also know Hindu philosophy, they said, yes, it is the same thing. Some people say it is same as Om. Allah is same as Om, they say. But then Allah will do all kinds of things later in the descriptions. Similarly, Jehovah also, if Jehovah is the creator, then why Jehovah has done all kinds of funny things and silly things later in Bible stories. So it becomes very silly. But the common principle is the creation and sustenance and dissolution. Of course, the Buddhists and Jains don't believe in the existence of such a intelligent being whom we call Ishvara, or Christians call God, or Muslims call Allah. They don't believe in the existence of such a personality or entity. There's no need they see. And even from science perspective, there's no separate intelligent principle. The nature itself creates itself, sustains itself by itself. So nature itself is worshipped as William Wordsworth said, I am the high priest of nature. So science is nothing but the worship of nature in a way. We can interpret that way also. The manifest universe. So we are talking of Brahman as the unmanifest cause of the manifest universe. It's creation, sustenance, and dissolution. Janmarjasya yataha is the first sutra of Brahma Sutras. And Shastra Yonitvat is another sutra. It explains the nature of Brahman as defined in the Shastra, which includes the Shruti, the Upanishads. So now the commentaries to Brahma Sutras, we have today in our prayer, we have chanted one very interesting sloka, which says that Keshava and Shiva, that is Narayana and Shiva, are helping each other. That is the Vyasa is the avatar of Narayana or Keshava or Shiva. I'm sorry, Narayana or Keshava, who gave the Brahma Sutras. And Adi Shankaracharya, our great guru, he has given the Bhashyam commentary to the same Brahma Sutras of Vyasa. So they are supporting each other all the time. Sutra Bhashyakaro Vande Bhagavantau Punah Puraha. So Sutrakara is one and Bhashyakara is the other. One is Vishnu's Avtara, other is Shiva's Avtara. So in all the instances, Shiva and Vishnu, they complement each other, they support each other. They are Shivaya, Vishnu Rupaya, Shiva Rupaya, Vishnave, Shivasya Hridayam Vishnu, Vishnusya Hridayam Shiva. So they are complementing each other. Their avatars are as these humans. Original Shiva, Vishnu remain where they are. They are not humans. So now the third foundational pillar for Vedanta Darshana is Bhagavad Gita. Now again Vishnu Avatara, the Purna Avatara, Lord Krishna, is the Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum, is Jagadguru. Loka Trayopakaraya, he has delivered this Bhagavad Gita for the benefit of the beings in all the three worlds. So the Bhagavad Gita contains the sum and substance in a very beautiful appealing manner of the entire Vedic knowledge and also the Vedanta. Veda is sarvai rahameva vedyo. Vedanta krut veda videva chaham. I am known through all Vedas. I am the maker of Vedanta. And I am known in the Veda. Veda videva chaham. I am the knower of the Veda. So Veda, Vedanta are both shown in the summary of the meanings of Veda and Vedanta are portrayed very vividly in the Bhagavad Gita. Again, for which the the originator is Krishna, the author is Vyasa, and the commentator is Shankaracharya himself. So Shankaracharya wrote commentaries to Upanishads, to Brahma Sutras, and to Bhagavad Gita. Of course, he didn't write commentary to all Upanishads, all 108 Upanishads. He wrote to 10 Upanishads, which are supposed to be principal Upanishads. Not because other Upanishads are not important, but he has chosen those 10. They are in the beginning, sort of. Isha Kena Katha Mundaka Mandukya Itreya and Shweta Brahadaranika and Shweta Shwetra. So, because he wrote commentaries to 10 Upanishads, though it does not mean all of the Upanishads are not equally important. Because Adi Shankaracharya wrote commentaries to them, then everybody, Sarvapari Radhakrishnan or Chinmayananda, everybody focused only on those 10. Sarvapari Radhakrishnan wrote a big book on the Upanishads. You can read, it's all in English. They are all based on the Shankaracharya Bhashyam. They simply translate or simplify. Every guru till today has based himself upon the Shankaracharya's commentaries and interpreted and simplified or delivered, broadcast the message. Of course, this particular doctrine, Siddhanta, Advaita Siddhanta, portrayed, presented by, delivered by Adi Shankaracharya, based on the Upanishads. Look at we have seen the Mandukya Upanishad where the Gaudapada Karika is portraying the Advaita Siddhanta very explicitly. Gaudapada was the guru of Govinda Bhagavad-pada, who is the guru of Adi Shankaracharya. We prostrate to all of them. So there is a dynasty of the gurus who are protecting us, who are the guiding lights to us even till today. We are nothing, we are less than a grain of sand in front of them. So the Advaita Vedanta Siddhanta being given or presented as a Siddhanta by Adi Shankaracharya based on the Mandukya Karika of Gaudapada is a doctrine which is based on propositional logic, and it can be proved to be valid and true. And it can be used to defeat all the opponent theories. We have all other fellows, all other parties like Buddhists and Jains, who gave their own theories of the ultimate reality, and Adi Shankaracharya could defeat all of them. So, Anda Shanda Pashanda Bauddha Jaina Charvak Lokayat, etc., all were defeated in the logic, the foundation of the propositional logic, based on which the Advaita Siddhanta was presented at his time. That is important point to note, because at his time, only Buddhist, Jain, Charvaka, Lokayata, Kapalika, all these people were there. So, Lord, many years later, hundreds and thousands of years later, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarkacharya, Vallabhacharya, so many people came in so many centuries after about 1,000 years or more, 1,500 years after Shankaracharya. The date of Shankaracharya is around 500 BC now. Previously, it was the Buddha's date, 500 BC. And now Shankaracharya is taken as 500 BC and Buddha goes back to 1900 BC. Previously, Shankaracharya was taken as 800 AD in the textbooks and Buddha is 500 BC. which is not feasible because by 800 AD, Islam and Christianity were prevalent in India, and Adi Shankaracharya never encountered them. So the traditional dating of Adi Shankaracharya to be 499 BC, as projected by the Shankar Mats. I have gone to all the Shankar Mats and seen the dating there as common, going back to 499 or 500 BC. So now, as I told you, after establishing the Shankar Mats, Adi Shankaracharya established 6 religions, Shanmata Sthapanacharya, that's the title he got. Shaivam, Vaishnavam, and Shakteyam, Ganapatyam, Kartikeyam, and Sauram. Sauram includes all Navagrahas. These 6 channels of Upasana of the Devatas was established by Adi Shankaracharya. That's why he was given the title as Shanmata Sthapanacharya. So all these 6 windows to the same Parabrahman, Om. So you can worship, who can perform Upasana, meditation to Parabrahman, either as Shiva, or as Vishnu, or as Shakti, or as Ganapati, or as Kartikeya, or as Surya and Navagrahas. So they are all windows to the same Parabrahman. Once this is understood, then you will see the synthesis between Advaita and Shaiva, Vaishnava, etc., etc. So this is well understood, well explained, well projected in the Advaita Siddhanta. So it is not true that Vaishnava was not there before Ramanujacharya. No doubt Ramanujacharya was responsible for its popularization, Vaishnava Upasana, popularization in all classes. The main contribution is breaking the class barrier for spiritual pursuits. The Visishtadvaita Siddhanta he gave, the Sri Bhashyam he wrote to Bhagavad Gita at Melkote. And it is a historic thing 1000 years ago, and therefore the 1000 years celebrations are being made with the Samata Mukti and all the 108 Divya Pradeshas, temples, models. So we pray to all these acharyas, and after that we had Madhvacharya also, and much later, who gave the Dvaita Siddhanta, where Mukti is given as the Salokya, Sarupya, and Sayujya Mukti. We respect all the acharyas. In my understanding, these Siddhantas are not opposite each other as some people try to project, but they are expansions or extensions or research, natural research extensions to the previous ones. This is my understanding. So I want all of you also to respect all the acharyas, because whatever be the differences in their doctrines, they are very, very microscopic, and sometimes they cannot even be understood by most of the people. It's reserved for scholarly discussions and debates. So the Vedanta Darshana had the interpretations by various acharyas who gave different Siddhantas. All were based originally on the Advaita Vedanta Siddhanta, but extended it with certain deviations or certain additions, certain expansions, certain simplifications, etc., etc., which may be relevant and required at that point of time in history, and at that point of time and location. It was required to protect Sanatana Dharma. So we respect all the acharyas. So now we will delve a little deeper into we have already covered Upanishads, so I don't have to tell you what is the message of the Upanishads. The Brahman is the topic of Upanishads. And the Brahma Sutras are the summarization, scholarly summarization of the Upanishads in a very deep analytical manner. It is very difficult to understand the Brahma Sutras, commentaries, or doctrines. Only scholars can understand, those who spend many years into it. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is the contrast. It can be understood by anybody and it is very popular. It is there, studied everywhere, all over the globe. And again, the Bhagavad Gita is also interpreted by the various acharyas in various ways, though there's a lot of commonality in their interpretations. So we don't want to criticize any acharya, and we don't want anyone to criticize any acharya. So as I said, the different interpretations are relevant at particular points of time and space, location, at particular times. So with this, I gave an overview, broad overview of the two darshanas, because we will be covering Bhagavad Gita in detail anyway, and we have already covered Upanishads. And I'm not going to cover Brahma Sutras in this course. They are very complex and deep. So we now close the lecture session and we can open for discussion.
ధన్యవాదములండి. So now let us start with our question answer session. We'll take it from chat first. Then we'll move on to people who want to directly interact with you. So the first question is from Venkateswarlu Avuru. What is the difference between Yagnam and Yagam?
No, Yajna means it's a generic word. You can have Jnana Yajna also, for example. Like what we are doing right now is Jnana Yajna. It is not Dravya Yajna. It is Jnana Yajna. And you can also have Yoga Yajna. In this 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, different types of yajnas are explained. Whereas yaga means is only one type of yaga, that is Havir Yagams. There are 11 Havir Yagams, 11 Srauta yajnas. So it is an exact terminology, like Agniotram, Somayagam, these are all yagas, Havir Yagas, the Havis is put. Whereas yajna is a more generic term, where this is one of the categories, Dravya Yajna, then Jnana Yajna, Yoga Yajna, Swadhyaya Jnana. Pranayama is also explained as Yajna by Lord Krishna. So that is the difference between Yajna and Yaga. Both are, Yaga is also Yajna, but there are Yajnas which are not Yagas. Yeah. Next.
Okay. From the same person, there is another question. Are Vyasa Maharishi and Badarayana are same? Both are same?
Yeah, that's what is normally accepted. Of course, some people may say they are different, but if it is different, then what are the other books about? Who wrote the other texts? Of course, the Vyasa is a title, is the editor. Veda Vyasa means editor of the Vedas. He is supposed to have authored the Brahma Sutras, as Badarayana. Of course, the word Badarayana is not used for the Mahabharata. Of course, in Telugu's translations, they have identified both as same. Krishna Dvaipayana, Satyavateya. So normal, it is accepted that it is one and the same. Of course, there is no guarantee about that 100%. That's what it is taken as.
Okay. Tangirala Krishnamurti garu wants to know about importance of homam that we do in our homes, like Ayush Homam, etc. How it is related to Yajna and Yaga? Request for clarification.
Yeah, there are also yajnas, but there's smarta karma. So yagas, Rauta yaga, Havir yagas are big procedures, except the simple one like Agnotra. All others are very big, 10 days 30 days, 40 days like that, costing lakhs and lakhs of rupees. There's Srauta karma that is given in the Veda. All karma, as I told you, can be categorized into three parts: Srauta karma, Smartha karma, and Pauranika. So what you are referring are called Smartha karmas. Ayusha Homam, Ganapati Homam, Sudarshana Homam, and also Rudrayagam, and also Lakshmi Yagam. So many karmas, they are Smartha karmas. They are not in the Veda proper, but they are written in the Smriti Granthas, which came later. Agam Shastras. So every temple will be performing those yagas, Smartha karmas in every temple. That is one of the major activities in the Agama Shastra. Whereas Srauta yagas, Havir yagas are only in the Veda. Only the Srautis will perform. You and I cannot perform. And another important point is that these items which you have referred are meant for the individual benefit. Ayusham is only for myself, Ayusham, not for everybody. Whereas Srauta yagas are for everybody. If you perform Somayagam, it is not meant for only one person. It is meant for the society as a whole. That is one of the major differences. The environment, the whole environment is getting influenced, affected and improved. Whereas if you perform Smartha karma, it is only for so and so person. For his Ayushya Viruddhyartham, Dharmartha Kama Moksha Chaturveda, Phala Purushartha Siddhyartham, Samasta Mangalavaptyartham, Sarva Abhish Siddhyartham, Sarva Arishta Nivaranardham, Sarva Abhish Siddhyartham. So the particular Sankalpam is varying between the Srauta karma and Smartha karma. Pauranik karma is Sachinarayana Vratam, Varalakshmi Vratam for females and all castes where Agnihotram is not there. When Agnihotram is not there, it is Pauranika karma. Even marriages, the Shodash Samskaras also. If Agnihotram is there, then it is Vaidika karma. If Agnihotram is not there, it is Pauranika karma. Next.
Okay. Shankaracharya wrote Upanishads Bhashyas. How Uttaramimamsa deals with Gnana different from Shankara Bhashyas, which also clarifies on summary of Upanishads
No,
Gnana.
same. Both are same. Uttaramimamsa is just a name of same Vedanta Darshana, whose one part is Upanishads and Upanishad Bhashya by Shakti. Both are same. That is that. Next.
Okay. Jayalakshmi Garu. Is even nowadays also Soma Yagna being performed? What is the Soma Rasam and what is its role in the Soma Yagam?
There is one plant called Somalata. That plant is juice is extracted from the plant, and that is called Somarasam. Not intoxication, all that is nonsense. The Western scholars interpreted all nonsensical things from our Vedas. So the Somarasam is performed as Homam in the Somayagam, in addition to other things like Kauhi, etc. So Somayagam is being performed. I have seen myself, I have attended many times. And within Somayagam, there is one prakrya called Pravargya, in which a huge flame comes around 20 feet height or 30 feet height. And that will absorb all the impurities in the entire area. It was performed once in Rajahmundry. It had very good results. So many times it has been performed. Pravargya is part of the Somayagam. So this Akkalkot Institute, Agnihotra Institute, they keep on performing once in a few years. They recently performed at Latu. A few years back, they performed at near Hyderabad, Chowtuppal, and inside Hyderabad also they performed before that. I attended many of them. And a person who performs Somayagam is known as Somayaji. That is a title given. Tikkana Somayaji means he performed Somayagam. If he has performed Chainam, he's got chain loop, chain lagaru. So like that, the titles are given. All our ancestors performed all yajnas. My own ancestors, my mother's grandfather was a top Vedic scholar at Kollur village near Tenali. He ran a Vedic school, which is still there now in Kollur village. And so these people are still doing. Many of the person from whom I learned Veda Kuppa Venkatacharya Swamiyaji was from Sridevi, Veda Vidyalayam at Srisailam, and whose brother's grandson is the Shankaracharya of the Sringeri Mutt today, Vidhushekara. So they all perform, and some of them, I mean, most of them have left all that in the pursuit of food and income by switching over to English education around 1875. My mother's father, grandfather himself has. His previous generation were all, that is up to 1875 or so. Almost all the Brahmins performed yajnas after studying Vedas. After that, they switched over to English education because without which they cannot get food also. That is the British intervention. British government passed an order in 1817 saying that all education other than English education is illegal and prohibited. So Vedic education was prohibited. Ayurvedas were closed. So people left all the Sanskrit and Vedic education systems and switched over to English. Between 1817 onwards to 1875, by 1875 or 1900, almost all switched over, except a few who stuck up, who are still in their lineages today. Next.
We respect all acharyas, but reality is one. Which acharya is close to that reality?
No, you see, the reality which you talk about, which is one, which is not so simple to express yes or no or black and white. It's not like that. The spiritual Adhyatmika Tattva is so abstract. It can be discussed in different ways, interpreted in different ways, and all are valid. This point is brought out many times in many texts, like in Avadhuta Gita, Advaitam Kechidichanti Dvaitamichanti cha apare, Samam Tattvam Navindanti Dvaita Dvaita Vivarjitam. Dattatreya is supposed to have said, the Avadhuta Gita, which is also ascribed sometimes to Gorakhnath, whose guru is Dattatreya, some people say. The statement says, some people like Advaita, some people like Dvaita. Both cannot reach the ultimate truth, which is beyond both. So all these doctrines are theoretical doctrines meant for analysis, presentation, discussion, debate, etc., etc. The spiritual experience, because the Kathopanishad also explained, Adhyatma yogene vadhigamyam, Kayamatma pravachanena labhyo na medhaya na bahuna srutena. And even Shankaracharya said many times, Vagvaikhari, Shabdajari, Shastra, Vyakhyana, Kaushalam, Muktaye na tu muktaye. So for mukti, for real Brahmajnanam, or for enlightenment and liberation, it is a spiritual development, a spiritual experience which is required, which will come to the individual as per the evolution. It is not a doctrine. So all doctrines are aiming at that. They are correct in their own perspective. I have discussed this matter with many scholars, many top Vedic scholars also. They also said we cannot dismiss any of these doctrines. But the ultimate spiritual truth which you are talking about is not a doctrinal truth. It is experiential enlightenment, spiritual realization. Next.
Okay, this question is from PS. Is Bhagavad Gita classified as Brahma Sutra or Upanishads? Please clarify. What about the status of Upadesha Shastra?
Upadesha Sahasri is a Prakarana Grandha. Adi Shankaracharya wrote around 300 books. I have got all of them with me, out of which a large number of are known as Prakarana Grandhas. And other, like we have many texts like Panchadashi, etc., which are not by Adi Shankaracharya. But Adi Shankaracharya himself wrote Vivek Chudamani, Upadesh Sahasri, Atma Bodha. If you have opportunity in the next level, second level, we will cover some of them. And they are all elaborations, explanations of the same principles which he has elaborated in the Bhashyas. Whatever he brought out in the Upanishad Bhashya, Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, or Brahma Sutra Bhashya, same thing in a very appealing and simplified manner, in a specific perspective, he brought out in the other Granthas, like Upadesh. If you take any one book, you will get the enlightenment through that procedure itself. All books are giving different perspectives of the same.
Okay, but that first part is Bhagavad Gita classified as Brahma Sutra or Upanishads?
No, it is classified as a Smruti Grantha. If you remember that sloka, today's prayer also we had. Shruti, Smruti, Purana, Alayam, Karunalayam. So, Shruti, Smruti, Purana, Itihasa, Dharmashastra. So, these are the different categories of text. Shruti is Veda and Upanishad. And Smruti, Bhagavad Gita is coming under second category of Smruti Grantha, not Shruti. Next.
Okay, are we part of God or just a soul? Ashok is asking.
No, you are soul definitely. And what is soul? Soul is Jivatma. And what is God? God is Paramatma. All souls are parts of sparks of one same Paramatma. If you have big light like sunlight, so one small spark is yourself. So all souls are sparks of the Supreme Being. Aham Atma Gunakesh Sarvabhuta Vyavasthita Sarvasya Chaham Hrudi Sannivishto Matta Smriti Jnanavapo. I am in the heart of all beings, he said it. So you are the soul, therefore you are part of the Supreme Soul. You are not different, but due to individual ego, you are feeling as if you are different. And because of the individual ego, you have karma, you have vasana, you have ahankara, mamakara, raga, dvesha, and so on. And the entire samsara is built for you, your own samsara. If you remove all these things, and finally if you remove ego also, you are one and the same as with the Supreme Being. Next.
Connected with that is one more question. Will every soul eventually become God?
It is already God. It is already God, but doesn't know that. That's the whole problem. We will explain this in the, I have already explained in the Upanishads. And it is like there's a story which says that a king went to a forest with his son. And after evening when they returned, the son was lost. And they tried, but they could not locate him. And after 30 years, they found one man in the forest who had some identification marks similar to that son. So they took him to CCMB for DNA analysis and found he's the same fellow. Then they told him, look, you are the king. Now you are king because your father has become old. You become the king. He says, no, I am not the king. How can I be the king? I am a tribal in the forest. So however much you tell him, he is not listening. So the question is, when will he become the king? The same question which you are asking. He is already the king, but he doesn't know it and doesn't want to accept it. That is the problem with us. We are already divine. We are already part of God, if not God, but we are not able to realize it. We are not able to accept it. We don't want to admit it. We want to be this only. It's up to you. Next.
Yeah, connected with that only. Does God have a soul?
God is the big yes soul, big yes. God is nothing but Paramatma, the all Atmas together and beyond.
Superset.
Yes, superset, far more, infinite superset, not limited.
Chiranjeevi Rapolu. Where can we find final conclusions of Purva and Uttara Mimamsa in English?
No, in English, you go to Ramakrishna Math, you will get everything in Ramakrishna.
Okay.
Upanishad Bhashyams, Gita Bhashyams, Brahma Sutra Bhashyams, by Shankaracharya, by Ramanujacharya, by so many books are there. Just go to Ramakrishna Math bookstore, you will find everything. All my life, I have been studying various texts of Ramakrishna Math and teaching also. Yeah.
Srinivas Rao, what is the philosophical difference between Buddhism and Sanatana Dharma?
Yeah, the main difference is the existence of Ishvara. Buddhists don't accept Ishvara as the creating power. They don't find a need to accept an intelligent power which is responsible for creation, sustenance, and distribution. But all the rest are same. They accept dharma, they accept yoga, they accept tapasya, they accept even to some extent the individual soul, because without the soul there cannot be any rebirth. They accept rebirth, everything. Buddhists and Jains, they differ to some extent in their own siddhantas. But their main difference is nastikatva. But they have upasana, they have devatas, they have all kinds of things. Of course, in the later period, Buddhism also became a sort of astika through the Mahayana, Hinayana, Mahayana. So the Hinayana, the Buddha is only a teacher, not God. But in Mahayana Buddhism, Buddha is taken as God himself. And in Japan and other countries where Mahayana Buddhism is practiced, Buddha is worshipped as God. And in Sri Lanka, the Hinayana, Buddha is not exactly God, but is Guru. And surprisingly, in Sri Lanka, where the Hinayana is practiced, they worship Brahma, Vishnu, and everybody. Buddhists, not only Hindus. So the difference is very small. In Nepal, for example, Buddhism, Jainism, Buddhism mostly, Buddhism and Hinduism are very closely coming. So in fact, finally, Buddha is absorbed as one of the avatars of Vishnu into Hinduism. So the difference is very minimal today, if at all there is any difference. Next.
Purushottam Rao, is it possible to get a summarized view of Brahma Sutras at level 2 of this course?
So we'll try. We need speakers. Will you speak? If you speak, we'll appoint you as a speaker for that. We are looking for speakers of various topics. Whoever is willing to speak any relevant and appropriate topic, we will incorporate.
Okay. Chiranjeevi Rapolu, who is the authoritative person now on Advaita?
No, there is no single authoritative person. There are so many speakers. So you can see in the YouTube, so many speakers are there. Locally, some people are there in Telugu, and some people are Ramakrishna Math teachers are there, and so many speakers. Sarveshwara, our Swami Sarveshwarananda is there, who was referred sometime back in one of my lectures. I'm also telling the same thing. Of course, I have no comparison to any one of those great teachers. I prostrate to all of them. Yeah, next.
Okay. Ramchandra Rao again. What is the Pratara Upasana? Pratara Upasana and its importance.
Yeah, Upasana is the original word for Agnihotra. The word Agnihotra is a generic word. Upasana is the actual Agnihotra at the time of sunrise, and also Sayam Upasana, that is the time of sunset. So that is about 20-30 minutes it will take. Agni Karyam, which we say, we perform it in every puja or even shraddhas start with Agni Karyam. That is Upasana Karma. And the same thing is simplified as Agnihotra, 2 minutes, 2 mantras, 2 minutes in the Agnihotra karma for the morning and evening sunset, sunrise and sunset times. But full-fledged is opposite. Next.
Srinivasa Garu, can you please elaborate on the philosophical difference between the doctrine of Sri Adi Sankaracharya and Sri Madhavacharya, who came much later, between Advaita and Dvaita?
Yeah, as I said, they are not opposite each other. Don't think like that. They are fighting or they have to fight and they kill each other and that kind of thing. No. Basically, it is because the subject is very abstract. It is Brahmavidya. Brahmavidya cannot be understood. So it has to be interpreted in different ways by different acharyas at different times. So in Dvaita, the Ishvara and Jiva are different, but they will, Mukti is by coming closer and closer. Salokya, Sarupya and Sayujya. So they merge. Sayujya is merger. Bhakti process. So after merger, what will happen? There will be only one. Two will not be there. That is Advaita only. So Dvaita, in the beginning, yes, Jiva and Ishvara are different. Then there is Bhakti Yoga. Then they become closer and closer. They come to the same loka. Then they become closer and closer. Samipya. And then finally they merge. So I would consider the ultimate is the same, but the processes are being told differently. In fact, to put it in a blunt way, according to Advaita, the summary of Advaita is Jagan Mithya, Brahma Satyam, Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. This universe is an illusion. And Brahman alone is the truth. And this Jiva is no different from Brahman because only Brahman is the only truth. In principle, that is true. But in practice, can you say this world does not exist? In that case, you don't have to go and do your work or job or nothing. I don't have to give this lecture also. You are not listening to this lecture. In practice, it is Dvaita. In principle, it is Advaita, always. So the truth is Advaita. But in practice, we are living in Dvaita. So from Dvaita to Advaita, there is a journey. And Visishta Advaita is also there. This is my own understanding. I may be right, I may be wrong, but I don't want to comment further.
P.S. Murthy Garu, ego is Maya or something else?
Yeah, ego is the first manifestation of Maya. Because Adi Sankaracharya wrote one book where he has explained the word Aghadita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. Maya is such a thing which will make the impossible look to be possible. Aghadita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. Nirupama Nitya Akhanda Nirvikalpe. The original state is Akhanda, one without a division, without a second. Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. So Nirupama, it cannot be compared with anything else. It is Nitya, eternal, permanent, Akhanda. Nirupama Nitya Akhanda Nirvikalpe. In that Brahman, Janayati Jagadisha Jiva Bhedam. Aghadita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. Maya creates a division of Ishvara different and Jiva is different through Ahankara of Jiva. So that is the capability of Maya to make the impossible possible. Impossible is there is no second. But it has created a Jiva out of Ishvara. I mean, Ishvara who is under the influence of Maya becomes Jiva. So if Maya is removed or ignorance is removed, then there is no Jiva at all. Only Ishvara is there. That Shiva and Jiva are one and the same. It depends on how you read it, how you interpret it. Next.
Okay, one more question from Venkateswar Lau. Moksha is already achieved. Is it to be realized or not to be achieved? Yeah, it is to be realized and not to be achieved. What he wants to say?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, because the assuming that you are Jiva, because of your Ahankara which is created as part of Maya, you are thinking you are in Bandha. you are experiencing bandha, you are experiencing karma vasanas and kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, all these deviations and vikaras, shadbhava vikaras, trigunas. So you are caught up in maya. So because you are caught up in maya, you are suffering a lot, and you are therefore seeking to achieve moksha from this mess, from this hell. Samsara, hala, the horrible, poisonous flames of hell of maya, of samsara. I don't have to tell you what I mean. Immediately after this lecture, you can start experiencing the hellish nature of this samsara. There will be so many problems that arise one by one. Even I am going to face. So you will be suffering through all these problems throughout your life. So how to get rid of these problems or how to escape from these problems? That is moksha. Moksha means escape, freedom. So now the question arises, the other side, this is about Jiva we have talked about. The other side, Brahman or Shiva or Narayana, whatever name you give, Atman, Paramatma, is obviously not in bandha. Paramatma is not having any bandham, right? Any suffering, any hellish experiences, fights, nothing like that. Paramatma is always Nitya Mukta, Nitya Suddha, Buddha Mukta, Satya Paramananda, Advitiya, Brahma. So the only problem is this Jiva is having all this. So once the Jiva gives up his Jivatva, his Ahankaram, Mamka, all the other things following it, and once he is gone and is merged into the, is no more separate, he is merged fully into the Brahman or Shiva or Narayana or Vishnu, then he is already liberated. That realization is moksha. Next.
Okay, in the Dasavataras, Buddha Avatara is mentioned as one of the avatars. Is this
So
avatara
there were more questions.
same as the one which is founded by Buddhism?
No, but please read again. I didn't hear your voice.
Okay, in Dasavataras, Buddha Avatara is also mentioned as one of the avatars. Is this avatara same as the one who founded Buddhism?
Well, there is a dispute on that point. There is a controversy. Some people say there are two different Buddhas. So Buddha Avatara Buddha is different from this Buddha. But then some people, you see, now if you look at Shankaracharya himself, he has used the word Bhagavan for Buddha. Bhagavan ityaha, Bhagavan said this, whatever he said. And of course, that Shankaracharya objected because it is Veda Viruddha or whatever it is. So Buddha was given the highest respect as Bhagavan Buddha by Shankaracharya himself, let alone all others. So if there are two different Buddhas, then he should have mentioned it. Shankaracharya must have mentioned it. He has not mentioned two different Buddhas. So it is a controversial issue. But since the second Buddha, we don't have any details. We presume there is only one Buddha. Because only in Bhagavatam or somewhere second Buddha was mentioned. Who is the actual avatar? So I leave it at it. It is a controversial topic. So it doesn't matter. For Hindus, Buddha is one of the avatars. Whichever Buddha it is, there must be one Buddha or two Buddhas, we don't know. Yeah, next.
Srinivas Rao, sir, thank you. Very nicely clarified as to how Dvaita merges with Advaita. Okay. Next one is Satya Lohita. Moksha can only be achieved in Bhautika or all the others like Swarga and Narkas.
No. See, Swarga and Narga temporary states. So happiness state is Swarga and miserable state is Narakam. Tana santoshame Swargamu, tana dukkhame Narakam and Tathyavu Sumati. So moksha is, in fact, the punya karma cannot be performed in Swargam You can only enjoy, you can only spend, you cannot earn. So in the earth, on the earth, this Manava Janma is an opportunity to earn punya. So of course you can become jnani in this Manava Janma. You can also become jnani in Devara. Swargaloka, like Brahaspati and all, are supposed to be the highest experts in jnana. So I'm sure it is possible in Swargalokam also, but we may not be, normally people are not there for too long, except of course very, very, very big punya karma. Those individuals who performed huge punya karmas, they become the Indra and they become Prajapati, they become so many other posts they acquire. But ordinary folks, they will be there in Swarga for a very short period, and be born again immediately. Shine punye, Varchalokam Vishanti, Abrahma Bhuvanaloka, Punaravartinorjuna, Mamapechut Kaunteya, Punarjanmanalapyate. Only when you reach Vaikuntham and merge into the Lord, then you will not be born again. Or reach Kailas. Kailasam is also equally difficult, though it is supposed to be on earth only, on Kailas Parvatam. It is impossible to reach there. You may go nearby, but you cannot go into the Kailas. So I hope you will reach somewhere and reach moksha. Then next.
Okay. Suresh Kumar Netigar is suggesting a different way of attaining moksha. Why is it said that knowledge is also required for attaining moksha? Why can't one get into samadhi state and attain moksha without knowledge of scriptures?
Both are same. Both are same, because the word knowledge is not a theoretical knowledge we are talking. We are not talking of knowledge in the sense of our present day classrooms and books. So we are talking of Atma Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam, which is acquired through Samadhi. So that question has no validity. It is not knowledge here. The word knowledge does not mean ordinary knowledge. It is Atma Jnanam, Brahma Jnanam, which is transcendental, very high. Ritambhara Tatra Prajna. That is in Samadhi only. So all are one and the same. But the fact remains that Brahman alone is the truth. And you, by your own making, you are creating your own problems. By assuming one ego and assuming all the attachments and assuming all the negative emotions, desires, anger, etc. You are creating your own problems. If you stop all this and if you are being established in yourself, which is what Samadhi is all about, you are already liberated. Next.
I think now we have done with the questions from the chat. Today we have an exam also. I think we will switch over to exam. We have sessions tomorrow on Vimana Shastra and thereafter Bhagavad Gita. Any other questions which are relevant can be taken up during that. Thank you, sir. Thank you for a good session on 3 sessions, in fact, on Darshanas. We have seen what is actually there. Thank you very much. And we will now switch over to the exam session. Okay, all of you now request you to just, need to have another half an hour, less than half an hour, if you are ready to complete this practice. I'll put the question paper in the chat box. Okay. And you can double click it and then get into the exam, get the exam. It is a Google form. Generally, if you just double click on that, you will get all the questions. First, there will be some instructions. After that, you will get the questions. Just, wait for a minute. I will take out the question paper. This Darshanas, Vedas, Vedangas, and Upanishads. And then this. Explanations. So, now I'm ready with the question paper. Anybody wants to have any word before that? Otherwise, I'm putting it in the chat box. So if you see the chat box, there is a link. Okay, all of you double click on that. You will get a Google form in front of you. Read that. So what is written in that, you can, I will take you through that so that you are comfortable. It says, okay, students, this is the quiz test after Vedas, Vedangas and Upanishads. Read the questions carefully and choose the correct answer. There are 5 options. So take one of them. Once satisfied with your attempt, press submit button. Evaluation of this is spontaneous. You will get your score immediately after the submission. So while you are submitting, it will ask for whether you are a robo or not. Just see the pattern which they are asking for. So don't get confused because you're already in the attention mode. So while submitting it, just be cool. The correct answers for the wrong answers are also given there. Your answer sheet will be sent to your email ID. So when you are entering the email ID, just check for its correctness. There are maximum marks are 29. That means there are 29 questions. Time allotted is 25 minutes. Best wishes. Wish you all the best. So now you can start. The time is 1 minute before 8. So 8:25 or 8:24 will close. I will stop the recording now. And then I will not stop, but I will pause.
स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथिवी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितो ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः अपुत्राः पुत्रिणः सन्तु पौत्रिणः अधनाः सधनाः सन्तु जीवन्तु शरदां शतम् सत्यं वद धर्मं चर स्वाध्यायान्मा प्रमदः सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्वे जना सुखिनो भवन्तु लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु स्वस्ति
ధన్యవాదములండి సత్య గారు.
नमस्ते
Now let us recite national anthem. Jana Gana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindhu Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkala Vanga Vindhya Himachala Yamuna Ganga Ujjvala Jaladi Taranga Tava Subha Name Gahe Tava Subha Ashish Mage Gahe Tava Jaya Dada Jana Gana Mangala Dayaka Jaya He Bharata Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He Jai Hind. Thank you all for the cooperation. Now I'll stop the recording.